what's up? It's me, Weston.
And Marcelo.
And this is Trash Talk E3 2016 Sub-Arc. Episode 2. Alright, so today's game is another Xbox One exclusive, but unlike the last one we did, Marcelo has no interest in this one at all.
I don't want to say that, I've never played a Gears of War game before.
Yeah, it's Gears of War 4.
We're getting my mother back. Then we're burning your damn hive to the ground!
This is another game that I kind of want to talk about, but again, Upper Games just doesn't caught our interest. So,
yeah, they showed it off last year as well.
They showed it off this year. They showed off more this year. Not too much more. Just some smaller stuff. So, anyway, let's just get into it. Did they say when they were going to release it?
I don't remember.
Don't remember either. That's why this is...
And if there is no date, then we're just waving our hands like idiots. But it should be there, so...
Alright, well, anyway, Gears of War is just, I do like Gears of War. I like the series. Though, admittedly, they haven't really changed much of it for a while, and I was actually gonna, if I said anything about it last year, then I'll say, then, you know, I can refer to you to that, but if not, then this is like the first time you're gonna hear it. But I was actually kind of surprised that they were making a Gears of War 4. I was like, well, you ended it pretty nicely, and, well, you ended it in Gears of War 3, so why is there another new Gears game? But, okay. So it's a continuation off of 3, and so this takes place a long time after, like you're playing as Marcus' son, so we know that, and you're playing with his two other companions. So they showed off gameplay, and again, it's what you would expect from Gears of War. There's a lot of cover-based third-person shooting. It's a third-person shooter with a lot of cover. It's cover-based, so it doesn't really change too much.
I've seen gameplay from the other games, and it looks similar. It does look darker in tone, which I think we'll be getting into soon.
Yeah.
But, I gotta throw something in there, so...
Yeah,
it seems to be darker, but it looks very similar to what I've seen in the past.
One thing that they definitely did change from other Gears of games, though, that they introduced in this game, is there's a lot more environmental interactions. Like, you can use the environment to help you kill enemies faster.
Okay.
So I found that kind of interesting. I mean, you don't have to use the environment, but if you want to, that's an option that's always willing. So I think it would reward the more observant player, or even for speedrunners, when they're like kind of just speeding through the game and all that. I think that would be something interesting to do. It's just like giving them that option, like, oh, as you shoot this, a whole bunch of barrels come down and then just blow up on the enemy's faces. And the storm is a pretty big focal point in the game, so I don't know if that's like the storm. In the last trailer, they also showed off like this big kind of storm happening.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's going to be playing like a very big focal point in the game, or if it's just going to play out for a few missions and that's kind of more like the more exciting chunk of the game. So,
I mean, my best bet is that it might be an integral part, since they've shown nothing but this aesthetic of just you're in this big ass storm. And do you know if this is anything that they've referenced in past games of like
not to
like this happening? Or?
Well, in Gears of War 3, they did have like this technology. And when they were trying to reach this island was being protected by a storm. Sorry, it's like a machine that just created like a storm barrier around the island to keep things out. So the only way they can go into the island is through a submarine and all that. And then they had to turn the storm machine off, and they actually had to use it to kill off the enemies in the game. So to kind of, and then stop the emulsion from destroying everything and all that stuff. So it did play an integral role. So I'm wondering if that's the result of that. I highly doubt it, though. It doesn't seem to be. That doesn't seem to be the cause of it. It seems just to be like a different type of storm kind of going on. So, and the storm looks interesting because at the end of the trailer, like the storm does like lightning trails around, and you have to kind of dodge and weave through cover to avoid it. So I thought that would be kind of interesting. There's gonna be a lot. I'm thinking there's gonna be a lot more environmental dangers in this game compared to previous Gears of War games.
Because besides what you just explained about 3, are there any other kind of nature-esque, weather-esque, like disastery like threats in the games? Or?
Not really. Not to that extent, no. But yeah. So they were showing off more of the enemies of the game and how they behave. And then again, you can rip them up, you can gore them apart. That's always been something that you could do in Gears of War. And that's one of the better things about Gears of War, as to how you can rip up your enemies and all that stuff. And they did show off a new enemy type, and they were also showing off. Before I talk about that, though, they also showed off one of the new weapons of the game, the Buzzkill, which is a weapon that fires like buzz saws at the enemy. And from what we've seen, it actually does damage you because of the ricochet. It seems to be a very powerful weapon that could just cut things like butter. But the thing is, you have to be wary of the ricochet because this weapon can be used on you. Like, if it ricochets, it can go back and kill you. So, and then he was also doing some trick shots from enemies behind cover, aiming at an angle. That's actually a pretty cool kind of weapon. But that's the only weapon that they really showed off in great detail amongst the new weapons. And I don't know if there's going to be any more new weapons. I'm thinking there's 2, maybe 3 more. I'm not exactly sure. But I know this was one of the weapons that they did show off. And then they also showed off a new enemy type, which appeared to be like, it looked kind of like a berserker in a lot of ways, except it didn't have its lower body, and it kind of had stubs from arms from what it looked like. It looked pretty big. But we didn't see any combat for any of it. Just, so I would like to see more of the combat with that kind of creature. And then at the end of it, like, you know, the girl character, I don't remember her name. I think they revealed her name in other mediums, like in the Game Informer magazine, but I don't know if they said anything in the trailer.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Sure.
So anyway, the girl character says some very important information and all that stuff, but of course they kind of just like, they silence that out.
I found out what that is. She cusses, you know, but what the hell are they doing here? Seriously. Anyway, again, we're not cutting. The trailer we saw, when I caught you up to speed about it, they just silenced her dialogue altogether for a particular sentence. You guys got to see that sentence just a while ago. It's in full in the trailer that we're using for this video, this review, but they bleep out, you can see it through context, and from her lip sync, you can see that she says, goddamn and fucking. You know, like, fucking whatever she says. Blowing down your hive or something. It's going down or something. That's what she says. So, in the trailer, in the cut that we saw, they just, they didn't bleep anything. They just they cut her voice out for that entire sentence. But you were thinking it was going to be like some kind of heavy plot revealing kind of theme. Now, I'm not sure what hive she's talking about or anything like that, but I think they just cut that line from the version of the trailer we saw just because of the cursing.
And then they also revealed at the end of the trailer that Marcus Phoenix is in the game, though whether you get to play as him or not is highly debatable. For those of you that are not familiar with Gears of War, Marcus Phoenix is the character that you play in the story, in all 3 of the games. He's the main guy you play.
Okay.
So he was the main character in the 3 games. In this game, though, you're playing his son. And so I'm thinking he's going to play a bit more of an integral role, or he's just going to help out the main character in some way. Again, they just revealed him, and obviously it is several years in the future. from where Gears 3 ended. So of course he looks a lot older. So
expectations.
Expectations. From what I want, I'm hoping that they do more environmental setups in the game, to where you can utilize the environment in a way to help you clear enemies faster, but also bring in a lot of new elemental, like environmental traps in the level, just because of like how the world is. It's in a state of decay. So I want to kind of see more of that as well.
Okay.
Just like using, like again, like the environment can be used against you as well. And then I'm hoping that they do some fun stuff with the enemy types. So far from what I've seen, the enemy types are pretty kind of just like what we expect from a Gears of War game. But I want to see some more inventive enemy types in there as well.
I don't play Gears of War, so I don't really have expectations as to like if I would ever to play this game. It looks interesting though, you know, so it wasn't like a bore to sit through for both years that I saw this now. So the only expectation I could say, I'm not speaking for myself with this expectation, but for fans like you of Gears of War, that since it was a sequel no one exactly expected or maybe even really asked for, hopefully it just delivers on a good or even better Gears of War experience than what you guys have had before.
Yeah.
So
verdicts. I'm gonna go with a 3.5 out of 5.
Interesting.
Just because it doesn't look like they brought a lot of new things to it, but they brought in. So I'm not gonna get my hopes up, but I'm just gonna be a little bit more cautious with my verdict. So 3.5 out of 5.
Okay. I seriously thought you were gonna go 4. To be honest, and I was gonna go 4 actually, but think about it more. Since you're lowering it down that much, just because you're weary of how it's gonna turn out, and just more of like, let's see what happens. I guess 3.5 as well, just because, again, it's not like anything I'm gonna play, but for those like you who at least want to check it out and want to see more of it, hopefully it delivers. So that's kind of it.
Yeah. So this is probably gonna be one of our shorter episodes.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm Weston.
I'm Marcelo.
And this was Trash Talk.
E3 2016.
I'm sorry too.
We're getting my mother back. Then we're burning your damn hive to the